Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions regarding this watch. Today we're discussing a model that launched in 2009 and has become a bit of a fan favorite among Paneristi. If you want a diver, a lot of folks want the biggest platform possible, the largest hands, the largest indices, the biggest bezel. Legibility comes first in the world of tool watches, and this has it in spades. You're looking at the Panerai Luminor 1953 days PAM00305. So launched in 2009, it's a grade 5 titanium submersible, 300 meters water resistant with a rotating bezel, a P9000 movement, and large 47 millimeter diameter. It's not super thick, although it is quite thick. It's 17.6 millimeters thick, and then it's super broad at 56.4 across the wrist with a 26 millimeter spacing between the lugs. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it's a bit overwhelming. Now, if you just want a large instrument with maximum legibility, game on. If you want something approaching more of a proportional aesthetic, I would say 17 centimeters circumference, but here you can see my wrist 16. I'll let you decide whether that works. My wrist is very flat across the top, and it will surprisingly fit underneath jacket cuffs, just not dress sleeves. Then again, you'd never really wear this as a dress watch, would you? Would you? The strap is a lovely piece. You can see a bellows style degree of flexibility. Panerai factory strap, brand new. The caoutchouc straps, they call it, the OP logo, which I think is like a 1970s Panerai logo style. Both strap, which is fixed by screws and bars, and then lug to strap are premium junctions. So this is a titanium large trapezoidal pin buckle, as you often see on Panerai watches. It's fixed, the strap, using screws and bars. No spring bars here. And here you could see we have Panerai's quick release system that retains bar fixture. So instead of using a spring bar setup, Panerai here uses its most deluxe junction, where you have a system whereby you depress this trigger and then you push the bar through. So this will not only prevent accidental displacement of a spring bar the way the screws and bars can, but unlike the screws and bars, this prevents you from risking your talent with a screwdriver against the lugs of the case. It's a much simpler system. Taking a quick look, you can see that there's a little dent on the lug. So from this angle, you can see this pre-owned watch has a little bit of a dent there. But this is a tool-style watch. Nevertheless, I want to make sure that you get complete disclosure of any non-standard features or facets of this watch. Grade 5 titanium, it's not particularly light, despite being titanium, because it is so big. So if you're afraid that it'll feel toy-like with the titanium, rest assured that's not a concern here. 300 meters water resistant. We have the device protecting the crown, which is the most iconic crown guard of all time. Conceived in the 40s and implemented in the 50s on Panerai combat watches, it has a lot of advantages, and we'll discuss them, but covering up the whole watch, you already know what brand and what model line. Luminor submersibles. Luminors generally. Maybe not submersible, but you definitely know it's a Panerai Luminor. When you see the bezel, you know it's a Luminor submersible. It is a 60 click. Super loud and chunky action. A little bit like the Doxa Sub, this is kind of the limit for bezel volume and detent strength. I would also say that you can see outboard, this is one of the few polished facets of the watch. Most of this is satin finished. You can take a quick look at the dial and realize that the dial is not the sandwich style that we know from many Panerai watches. Instead, it is an applique index. We have an enormous bezel pearl on the bezel itself, and let's take a look in the dark. Easy to judge relative to the minute hand, and then you can see that the seconds hand is also luminescent, which is something I like to see on a dive watch, because all too often dive watches don't have some sort of operation indicator that's visible in the dark. Under the ISO 6425, they need to have a constant operation indicator, but seeing it underwater where light may be at a premium is also important. So I'm glad Panerai didn't make that mistake or fall into the trap of having a non-lumed seconds hand. We're going to talk about the crown guard now. I mentioned a lot of advantages. A big one: if it gets hit perpendicular, unlike a regular shouldered crown guard, it won't be damaged. Also, the locking lever system, because you're not fiddling with a tight screw-down crown, this is really easy to operate when your hands are wet, sweaty, or gloved. And if your crown is unlocked, unlike a screw-down crown, this is really unmistakable. That's hard to miss. Also important is that you don't wear out the seal for the stem tube assembly, because all you're really doing is compressing and decompressing the seal itself. So this was originally conceived back when all Panerai watches were manual wind, and the idea was you would be continuously threading in and out to wind and set it. And that was when the original series of Panerai watches were made by Rolex and then modified by Panerai for military use. Well, they were using Rolex oyster crowns and cases, so there was a lot of that screwing in and out. The idea here being that you're not going to wear down the seals if you're just compressing and decompressing. As soon as that lever is lifted, I can now wind the watch. I can operate features like hacking seconds or the time zone function. So you can see hacking seconds, I've stopped the seconds hand, and now I have the ability to move the hour hand independently, which can even jump the date forward or backwards depending on whether I'm traveling east or west across the international date line. So that's very handy. And of course, if you look carefully, you can see there's a little roller bearing called the runner in the cam. I believe that was introduced in 2007. It just makes it a little bit more refined. Around back, we have what I'm going to describe as a Valfleurier designed movement that is nevertheless a Panerai exclusive caliber. You can see this is a Q serial number. This one was made in 2014. Screw down case back. All this is titanium here, 300 meters water resistant. And then we have ceramic bearings for greater winding efficiency. You can see the ball bearings are ceramic, the races are steel. Bidirectional winding. Panerai wanted to clean break with its old Valjoux 7750s, so it launched its in-house movements with bidirectional winding, so you wouldn't have that rotor wobble of a unidirectional winding movement. So people buying these would be able to clearly distinguish between an in-house caliber and something like a 7750. 2 barrels, automatic winding, 72-hour power reserve, 4 hertz beat rate. We've got a free-sprung balance for greater shock resistance, and then the 2 barrels giving us a good power reserve, but also a nice flat torque curve. You can see the movement's fairly large and fills the case back well. It pivots on 28 joules. This lateral brushed finish, designed to emulate the brushed finish of historic Panerai pocket watch-based movements like the Rolex Codebert 618 or the later Angelus SF248 day. And then you can see it has a 3/4 style bridge structure to look like those old manual wind pocket watches. Also important, though you can't see it, it uses a magic lever style bidirectional pawl-based winding system, which is very efficient and also very durable. So there's a lot to love even where you can't see it. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.